one thing that I think you and I have talked about off the camera a little bit was the live side and what it's doing to the animal production side of the equation, how it's really turned over a lot of the normal, I guess, roads through which animals pass from producer to processor and whatnot. What have you seen happening there, and what has you concerned, or what success stories have you seen there that have worked out in terms of what this COVID-19 is doing to the supply chain?
First thing I would say is I am seeing waveforms in the supply chain. And what I mean by that is there are going to be isolated areas that have shortages of certain products. For example, you may, the main store buys from a facility, so that facility shuts down, right? They're going to have a shortage of that product. They've got to resource, go to a different supplier. They've got to arrange the transportation, the trucking. I mean, there's a lot of things that have to happen. Um, so I do think you're going to see isolated shortages, but people are going to be able to buy protein. You may not be able to buy your T-bone steak. You might have to go with a porterhouse, all right? But you will be able to get product. Some of the things that have really kind of caught me off guard were some of the shifts in. We got a call from a farmer who was canceled. He had 9 barns, and he needed to move his product. We put it out to our client list, and he was able to move those 9 barns at a much reduced rate. So it worked out well for everybody. We're seeing small processors, smaller slaughter facilities changing their business model. They're slaughtering more often, because remember, a lot of them traditionally only slaughter 1 or 2 days a week. They're slaughtering more often, but instead of processing in-house, they're moving that processing to a processing-only facility that's doing it. We're seeing our clients that really were focused on the restaurant and hotels. They are now going directly to the consumer, and the consumers are giving extremely positive feedback. So there is a huge shift occurring. How long that goes on, or does it stay permanent in one form or another? That my crystal ball is a little fuzzy on that one, but we are definitely seeing it. It's been positive for a lot of the rural communities, the local butchers, the smaller mid-sized plants. You're just not going to see them go down like you do the larger plants, just because of the difference, the way they're built, the different number of employees and how the employees come in, things like that. So the rural areas, I actually expect them to be in better shape than some of the larger urban areas, just because you're bringing everything in. And I'll make something up. I'll pick on Chicago because that's where you're at. If you normally get your product from northern Wisconsin and suddenly you have to get it from California, that jump in supply transportation time may cause a temporary shortage. Having said that, you have some great suppliers in Illinois that could step in and temporarily fill that gap. They may not have the long legs to do it on a permanent basis, but for a short burst, they're going to step in and fill that gap. There's a lot of panic and a lot of silliness, to be honest, that I'm reading about. People just need to calm down. This industry is very resilient. I don't think our supply chain's broke in any way, shape, or form.
I agree. I mean, I think there's a lot of saber rattling in some ways going on, and I think that doesn't even delve into the cold storage situation, right? Of
Right.
the storehouses. Not that we're sitting on meat, a giant pile of meat, but still. I'm really curious to see, based on what you said too, what this does to retail moving forward. A lot of the stores, you go into the meat case and they might have one brand of product, under the commodity labels or, under the commodity cuts. I'm wondering if they'll start to maybe carry multiple SKUs or multiple brands or something, maybe to hedge against something like this. Or very interesting to see if a company, that does strictly food service institutional, once this is all over, do they start launching a retail brand because they've created some super loyal customers? That'd be very interesting to see. So,
And I think you're going to see some of that, Andy. We have one client that does distribution. They're doing in their business, is obviously down, but it's not that much. And it's people pulling up, opening their trunks. The employees come out, they text in, hey, I'm here, I'm in a blue, whatever it is, blue car. They come out, they load it in their trucks, they think, wave at them and go back in. The consumer is extremely happy. They've got a case of meat that they would not have gotten before. It's extremely high quality. It's good stuff. It worked well for everybody. If you think about it, the client, the producer, didn't have to ship it. They didn't have to pay shipping costs. They didn't have to do any of that. Somebody's pulling up. The consumer's happy. They've got it at what they consider a reduced rate. So I think you're going to see that continuing. The buy local trend has been huge. I think your companies that have been really supportive of their communities, the ones that have stepped up and donated, product to food banks, et cetera. Landmark Snacks comes to mind. They've really done a lot of donations, moved a lot of production just for food banks. People are going to remember that. And so who are you going to support? The other thing I saw that was interesting was in a small grocery chain who, normally you'd see, your commodities, like you said, they started carrying local meat shop products in their facility. That works well for both. They were able to maintain hamburger sales. Their customers were able to get hamburger. It helped the local processor that was making that hamburger. Those relationships that are being built, I guess my point is, I don't see those relationships going away, which is going to change this industry.
Yeah, well, that's what the consumer marketplace is all about, right? Creating the loyalty. And if you don't have a retail brand out there, you create that loyalty through a tough time like this. And of course, whenever this is all over, you're going to have consumers wondering, how do I get that Landmark Snacks product? Or, the one that I always, continue to kind of play up is Stampede Meat here in the Chicagoland area. They've been donating meat to all kinds of first responders, and they've been doing the direct to consumer since, really the shutdown shelter in place started. So it's been very interesting to see. So anyway, Drew, I think we're more or less out of time here. Is there any last point you wanted to make before we kind of cut this video off? And we'll talk more the next time, I think, about other things. If there's, we could talk all day, as you know.
I know.
The last point you wanted to make?
I just want to remind communication with employees and with your community and your customers. You need to be communicating what you're doing, how you're doing it. That demonstrates you're on top of your game. It builds trust among all three. You have to have that to keep going.
Drew, thanks so much for your time. I know, again, I'm sure we'll be talking in the next about this moving forward. So thanks again.
Sounds good.